You ever wonder why some people leave a mark on someone's heart that never really fades? Why their name lingers in conversations, in memories, in the quiet moments of someone's day? It's not about games, strategies, or trying to be unforgettable in a way that drains you. It's about connection, the kind that is rooted in truth, vulnerability, and emotional resonance. Staying in someone's head and heart isn't about being perfect or always saying the right thing. It's about being real. About showing up again and again with courage and clarity, even when it's messy. It's about living in a way that makes someone feel safe, seen, and deeply understood. Authenticity builds emotional intimacy that lasts. That's a truth we often overlook in a world where performance is rewarded and appearances are curated. But when it comes to creating a place in someone's mind and heart that endures, authenticity is the foundation. It's not about being flawless, it's about being honest. Being real doesn't mean saying everything you think or spilling your emotions all the time. It means showing up as who you are without trying to mold yourself into someone else's idea of who you should be. People remember how you made them feel, and when they feel you're being true, they begin to feel safe. Emotional safety is the gateway to intimacy, and intimacy is what stays. We live in a culture that tells us to put our best foot forward. But often what that really means is hide the parts that might make someone uncomfortable, and that's where connection starts to erode. The truth is, people don't connect with perfect, they connect with presence. They connect with someone who is comfortable in their own skin, who's honest about what they feel, and who's not afraid to admit they don't have it all figured out. When someone senses that you're authentic, they let their guard down a little. It becomes easier for them to stop performing too, and that shared space where both people feel they can just be. That's where emotional intimacy starts growing roots. Authenticity isn't loud. It doesn't have to shout to be noticed. It's found in the quiet moments, the way you respond when someone shares a vulnerable truth, the way you admit when you're wrong, the way you hold space for real conversations without needing to fix or judge. When you're authentic, you offer the other person an experience of emotional clarity. They don't have to second, guess your intentions or decode your moods. And in a world where many people are used to masks and emotional guessing games, that kind of clarity is magnetic. It draws them in because it feels like relief. There's a myth that if you want to stay in someone's head and heart, you need to impress them. Be the most attractive, be the most charming, say the right things. But what truly anchors you in someone's memory is how real you were with them. It's the honesty in your laughter, the way your eyes didn't dart away when things got heavy, the way you didn't try to rush past hard emotions. That kind of presence is unforgettable because not everyone knows how to offer that, and not everyone is brave enough to. Authenticity also means taking emotional risks. That doesn't mean being reckless. It means being brave enough to show your true self, even when there's no guarantee how the other person will respond. When you allow someone to see the parts of you that aren't polished, you're inviting them to see the full picture. And if they accept it, you've just created a bond that goes beyond surface admiration. That's the kind of connection that outlasts time and distance, because it's built on truth, not illusion. What makes you stay in someone's heart is not how often you made them laugh or how perfectly you said the right thing. It's the sense that you were real with them in a world that often asks us to be anything but. Emotional intimacy doesn't grow in the shallow waters of small talk and practiced charm. It grows when two people bring their full selves to the moment, not just the curated parts, but the honest parts. The awkward, uncertain, tender, sometimes messy parts. That's where trust is born. That's where connection deepens. People crave what's real, even when they don't always know how to ask for it. When you meet someone with sincerity and show them that you're not wearing a mask, you give them permission to breathe a little deeper in your presence. You become memorable not because you were perfect, but because you were rare. In a sea of filtered versions of connection, authenticity is what cuts through the noise. It creates a resonance that lingers, a presence that echoes even when you're not around. When you are fully yourself, without manipulation or hidden agenda, that energy stays with people. It embeds in their memory, not as a performance, but as a feeling they don't forget easily. Consistent presence creates lasting connection. It's not about grand gestures or dramatic moments, but about the quiet, steady rhythm of showing up. When someone experiences you as emotionally available again and again, through joy, through difficulty, through the mundane, they begin to build a sense of trust that doesn't waver easily. It's not the flash that stays with people, it's the frequency. The way you consistently listen when they speak, the way you respond when they need support, the way your presence becomes a source of emotional steadiness in a world that often feels unstable. People don't remember everything you say, but they remember if you were there. They remember if you made time for them when they didn't have the words to ask. Presence isn't about being physically near someone all the time. It's about emotional attentiveness. It's the quality of attention you give, the reliability you offer when someone reaches out. When you consistently make someone feel seen and heard, they start to feel that their experience matters. That kind of feeling isn't just rare, it's irreplaceable. It creates an emotional thread that stays long after the moment has passed. In relationships, whether romantic or otherwise, emotional permanence is built through small, repeated acts of presence. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't need to be perfect in your responses. What matters most is that you're willing to keep showing up. People want to feel that you are with them not just when it's easy, not just when things are fun, but when things are complicated, when they're not at their best, when they don't know how to fix what's broken. That is where trust deepens, and that's where hearts stay tethered. We're often taught to think that being memorable means being exceptional in some way, more attractive, more successful, more exciting. But what people remember with the deepest clarity is often the person who made them feel emotionally secure. Consistency isn't glamorous, but it's deeply grounding. It signals commitment. It tells someone that they matter beyond convenience. When someone can count on you, not in the dramatic, last, miniaturesque, you kind of way, but in the everyday, quiet presence, they begin to internalize your importance in their emotional world. There's also something powerful in the predictability of your presence. Not in a boring way, but in the sense that you become emotionally reliable. In relationships that last, it's not about adrenaline and unpredictability. It's about knowing that when they reach for you, through words, through silence, through small signals, you will be there. Your consistency teaches people how to relax in your presence, how to stop bracing for disappointment or detachment. That emotional relaxation is what allows love, affection, and connection to deepen. When people look back at the ones who mattered most, they often describe them as always there. That always isn't measured in hours spent together, it's measured in how often you showed up emotionally. How often you made them feel that their joy was worth celebrating and their pain was worth holding. You become part of someone's emotional landscape when you are part of their story, not just in big chapters, but in small sentences. That consistent presence weaves itself into the way they experience their own life. Consistency is also what makes someone feel emotionally safe. When your words align with your actions over time, when you respond with compassion more often than defensiveness, when you follow through on your intentions, that stability becomes magnetic because emotional inconsistency is exhausting. People tire of trying to read signals, of guessing whether their needs will be met. But when you are consistent, you remove that tension. You allow for emotional ease. That ease becomes associated with you. It makes your presence feel like home. Even in distance or silence, consistent presence leaves a mark, a voice that always returned messages, a mind that remembered details, a heart that checked in without needing to be asked. Those are the things that carve deep impressions. Because when presence is consistent, it tells someone that you didn't just care occasionally, you cared reliably, and reliability, especially when paired with genuine emotion, forms the strongest kind of memory. The kind that doesn't need to be constantly reinforced to endure. The kind that simply remains quietly, steadily, and powerfully. Vulnerability invites deeper trust and closeness. It's one of the most human things we can offer, and also one of the most difficult. We're wired to protect ourselves, to avoid pain, to guard the parts of us that feel too tender or too raw. But when we talk about staying in someone's head and heart forever, we have to talk about the moments when we choose to be open even when it's uncomfortable. Vulnerability isn't weakness. It's not oversharing or emotional recklessness. It's the quiet strength of letting someone see who we really are, not just the strong parts, but the scared ones too. When you allow someone to witness your vulnerability, you give them a gift that very few people offer. You say, in essence, here I am without the armor, trusting that you'll hold this gently. And that kind of trust is powerful. It invites a similar openness in return. It's not just about sharing pain or struggle. It's also about letting someone see how much you care. Many people are far more comfortable showing frustration than admitting affection, but when you can look someone in the eyes and say, "This matters to me," without hiding behind sarcasm or distance, you create a bond that can't be replicated through performance. Vulnerability creates space for closeness because it removes the need for masks. It says, "I'm here, not as an ideal, but as a real person," and that authenticity is where intimacy is born. When someone feels they can be vulnerable with you too, without fear of judgment or dismissal, the relationship moves from surface level to soul level. That kind of emotional depth doesn't come from carefully curated moments. It comes from the messy, brave decision to be honest about what you feel, even when it's hard. We live in a world where vulnerability is often misunderstood. People think it means weakness, dependence, or loss of control. But in truth, vulnerability is the birthplace of everything meaningful: love, trust, connection, and even joy. To let someone into the places we usually hide is one of the most courageous things we can do. And people don't forget those who had the courage to be real with them. Vulnerability lingers in memory because it feels sacred. It's the opposite of pretending. It's the opposite of manipulation. It's simply truth delivered with an open heart. There is a kind of emotional clarity that comes with vulnerability. When you stop trying to win, to be right, or to protect an image, you start focusing on what's true. And what's true is often very simple. I care about you. I'm afraid. I want to understand. I don't have all the answers. These are not dramatic declarations, but they are deeply human ones. And when spoken genuinely, they carry weight, because we don't hear them enough. We don't always speak them out loud, so when we do, they echo. In moments of real connection, vulnerability is usually present. Maybe it's in the way someone talks about their childhood, or in the hesitation before they admit they miss you, or in the quiet after a disagreement when they choose closeness over pride. Those moments, however small, are the moments that stay because they're rooted in emotional truth. Vulnerability doesn't guarantee that everything will be okay, but it guarantees that what's happening is real. And that reality, that emotional honesty, is what people carry with them long after the moment ends. Sometimes we fear that if we're too vulnerable, we'll scare someone away, that if we admit how much we care, they'll run. But the truth is, if someone is capable of deep connection, vulnerability doesn't scare them. It draws them closer because they see it for what it is: bravery. A person who can be emotionally open is a person who invites others to be seen and held without fear. And that invitation is unforgettable. Vulnerability creates a kind of emotional intimacy that can't be manufactured. It's raw, it's imperfect, and it's deeply memorable. Being vulnerable doesn't mean revealing every detail of your life or bleeding out your emotions every time something feels off. It means being honest. It means having the courage to say what you feel when it matters. It means not hiding behind pretense when your heart is involved. And when you live from that place of honesty, of openness, you don't just connect with someone temporarily. You become part of the emotional fabric of their life, not because you were perfect, but because you were brave enough to be real, and real is what remains. Shared values strengthen heart-level bonds. When two people connect on a foundation of values, deep beliefs about what matters most, something more profound begins to take root between them. It goes beyond chemistry, beyond attraction, beyond surface-level compatibility. Values are like internal compasses, guiding how we move through the world, how we make decisions, how we treat others, and how we respond to life's challenges. When those compasses align, there's an unspoken ease between people. A sense of "I see the world in a way that's not so different from you," and that creates a connection that doesn't just feel good, it feels right. Attraction might catch someone's eye, but shared values capture their heart. It's the reason some people leave a lasting impact even without constant presence. Their principles align with yours, their choices resonate with your beliefs, and that resonance sticks. It creates emotional consistency. When someone believes in the same things you do, kindness, loyalty, honesty, growth, it becomes easier to trust them, to build with them, to relax into connection without always questioning motives. That trust is the soil where heart-level connection grows, quietly but powerfully. There's something grounding about being around someone whose values mirror your own. You don't have to constantly explain why something matters to you or why you made a certain decision. There's a mutual understanding beneath the words. Whether it's the way you both prioritize integrity, or how you both believe in second chances, or the fact that you share a deep commitment to personal growth, those shared beliefs create a kind of harmony. Even during disagreements, those shared values create a stable foundation. You may see a situation differently, but you're rooted in the same principles, and that makes resolution feel possible rather than threatening. When someone knows what you stand for and sees that it aligns with what they believe in, it brings a sense of emotional security. People want to feel safe emotionally, not just in the moment, but over time. Shared values provide a kind of emotional predictability. They help someone feel that they can count on how you'll respond, what you'll choose, how you'll show up. That predictability becomes deeply comforting. It doesn't mean life is always easy or perfect between two people, but it means the foundation can weather a lot more, and that's what makes you unforgettable. It's not just what you say, it's what you both believe in, and how that shows up consistently over time. People remember those who aligned with them in spirit, not just in lifestyle. You can share hobbies, goals, even routines with someone, but if your values are at odds, the connection eventually frays. On the other hand, even when lives take different paths, people stay in each other's hearts when they remember how aligned they felt in terms of what truly mattered. The conversations that went deeper than usual, the way you both lit up when you talked about purpose, family, love, growth, or resilience. Those moments where someone feels, this person asterisk gets asterisk me on a level that isn't just about words. That's where heart-level connection forms. Living out your values consistently also creates emotional resonance. When your actions reflect your beliefs, people don't just hear what you say, they asterisk feel asterisk it. And when those actions align with the values someone else holds close, it leaves a lasting emotional impression. You become the kind of person whose presence reaffirms what they believe about the world, or even challenges them to live more deeply into their own values. That impact goes far beyond behavior. It settles in the emotional memory, in the space where people remember not just what you did, but what you stood for and how that made them feel. Sometimes the connection that lasts isn't the loudest or most exciting. It's the one that feels the most real because it's anchored in shared truths. When you can look at someone and know that if life gets messy, they'll handle it with the same core values you would. Whether that's with compassion, honesty, or loyalty, it creates a bond that outlasts circumstances. That emotional alignment doesn't have to be spoken about constantly, but it's felt in everything, in how you speak to each other, in the trust you build, in the way even silence feels safe, and that kind of alignment is hard to forget. It marks people. It leaves a warmth in the memory because it's rare to find. Active listening leaves a lasting emotional imprint. In a world filled with noise, distractions, and half attention, truly listening to someone becomes an extraordinary act. It's not just about hearing the words someone says, it's about being present enough to receive the full emotional weight behind those words. When you listen with genuine intention, without interrupting, without waiting to respond, you communicate something powerful. You matter. Your voice matters, your feelings matter, and that message stays with people. It reaches into the deeper parts of their experience and carves a place in their emotional memory. There's a subtle but profound difference between hearing and listening. Hearing is passive, it's what happens when sound reaches your ears. Listening is active, it's what happens when you choose to give your full attention to another person's experience. It requires focus, empathy, and humility. You don't just listen to reply, you listen to understand. You ask questions not to control the conversation, but to invite more truth. You reflect back what you hear, not as a performance, but to make sure the other person feels seen, heard, and validated. That kind of emotional presence is rare, and because it's rare, it's unforgettable. When you listen deeply to someone, they remember how they felt in your presence. They may not recall every word, but they will remember the emotional safety. They'll remember that in a world where most people are too busy trying to be interesting, you chose to be interested. That emotional imprint becomes part of how they see you, and more importantly, how they feel about themselves when they're with you. Listening is not just a skill, it's an offering. You're giving someone space to be fully themselves, without judgment or agenda. That gift can't be faked, and it can't be easily replaced. Real listening also creates emotional clarity. When someone is going through something difficult or confusing, they're often not looking for advice. They're looking for resonance. They want to feel that someone understands them, not because they've solved the problem, but because they've stayed long enough to witness it. Active listening becomes a mirror, helping people hear themselves more clearly through your calm, non-reactive attention. And in that clarity, connection deepens. You become someone they trust, not because you fix things, but because you didn't leave them alone in their experience. Listening with presence means you're not rushing ahead to the next point or mentally scripting your response while they're still speaking. You're here, now, and people can feel that. Your body language speaks just as loudly as your words. Eye contact, relaxed posture, open expression. When someone feels your attention fully on them, without judgment or distraction, their defenses begin to lower. They stop performing. They begin to speak from deeper places, and those moments create an emotional imprint that lasts. You become associated with truth, with safety, with a space where real conversations happen. When someone feels deeply listened to, they start to feel deeply valued, because being heard is a form of being loved. It tells someone that their emotions are worth holding, that their thoughts are worth exploring, that their stories are worth telling. And that sense of being valued, especially when it happens consistently, becomes embedded in their perception of you. They don't just remember the times you gave great advice or said the right thing. They remember the moments when you let them be fully human without rushing to fix, rescue, or judge. That emotional permission becomes a kind of home. Active listening also builds trust over time. Every time you listen well, you send a signal: I care about your experience. I respect your truth. I'm not here to win. I'm here to understand. Those signals accumulate. They create emotional safety, and when someone feels safe with you, they open up more. They share the things they don't usually say out loud. They let you into the more vulnerable corners of their life. And because that kind of openness is so rare, the person who listens that way becomes irreplaceable. Not because they were the loudest voice in the room, but because they were the quietest place where someone could finally be themselves. Listening also communicates humility. It says, I don't need to dominate this space. I'm here to share it. That humility creates balance. It makes the relationship feel less like a performance and more like a partnership. And that balance matters. It creates mutual respect, mutual growth, mutual emotional investment. When someone feels that you've consistently shown up not just to talk, but to understand, they carry that with them. In a noisy world, the person who listens deeply is often the one who is remembered most clearly, not for what they said, but for how they made others feel heard.